from our studio in Atlantic City, and tonight from the Music Box at Borgata Hotel, Casino and Spa, I'm David Spatz. And coming up next, he's Avalon's musical claim to fame, Garrett Dutton III, better known as G-Love, joins me on tonight's edition of Curtain Call, and it all starts right now.
It's great to come back. It always is. We on our last record we have a song called "Can't Go Back to Jersey," and it's kind of just a parody about. Well, it's just a relationship parody, but the point is like the catchphrase "Can't Go Back to Jersey." I was just writing in my blog this week, saying how. Now I know I wrote the song "Can't Go Back to Jersey," but I am going back, and I always do go back, and I love going back, and we're happy to be back down here.
What is it like going back as, for lack of a better term, a star?
I don't know. I mean,
did they treat you different than down in Avalon?
I mean, sometimes I used to get a free cheesesteak at Donnelly's, and the Princeton. They still card me and make me pay every time. So our thing's kind of been really gradual, like a gradual build up, and just because of that, like it never was like a sudden, like overnight success story for us. It kind of was, but it was also a slow build. So
I was gonna say you've been doing this for 15 years,
yeah.
Right?
So definitely have been able to keep my feet on the ground, one way or another, and I don't know. So for me, going home, I just hang out with the same people, and no one really treats me different, and I like that. That's how I roll, So
you wrote a lot of music sitting on the front porch of your parents' home down in Avalon, didn't you?
Yeah, I'd probably say I've written like a third of all my songs, or maybe even half of all my tunes sitting on my mom's front porch down there, and it's just like, it continues to be a time when, because now I have a 6-year-old, so I really try and now that he's in school, try and make sure I have at least a couple weeks, if not a whole month off down at my mom's house at the shore. And it's a time where you just be with the family and really decompress from all the touring and recording we're up to, and just basically write a lot on the front porch. And if there's no waves or no bluefish out there, I'll be sitting on the porch and strumming my guitar.
And if there is waves and bluefish, you can still sit there and get some inspiration there, can't you?
Yeah, and I think I've always been out there since I've been a teenager, just strumming away all day, and I mean my neighbors always really put up with it pretty well. Probably sometimes we get kind of annoyed, but now that I kind of made it, they probably think it's pretty cool.
Did you ever try out songs on them? Say, hey, you got to listen to this?
I mean, they really had no choice about it because I was out there playing it. Yeah.
I could just tell a girl like you was a dead end. Stepping up against me, talking about I got a boyfriend, and here we come looking for you on the dance floor while you're pushing on my knee, talking about I love you more. New in town, but I'm no stranger to this. Not trying to exist with the hit and run fix. I get my love on the run. I like having fun, but I don't sneak around. I don't got a gun, so give me 3 seconds, just like this wheel on the skin. And there's more drama in a town and a soul. So I figure maybe get your number, maybe I will call. Maybe we'll slip into the back room down the hall. Or maybe I get jacked by your ranky boyfriend Louie, cause his eyes are getting redder. All his ankles busy stewing on the fire. The little chicken you put out on a Friday night. When I came to Rocket Town on a Friday night, everything is alright.
You mentioned that you wrote on your blog this morning, and I noticed on your website something that you wrote on November 29th, and I think it says a lot for how you feel about coming here to Atlantic City and playing the Borgata. You said you got a call from your mom that there was a billboard on the Atlantic City Expressway, and you said it's a beautiful billboard that announces our show December 30th at the Borgata. I've made it. I've made the big time, baby. Next will be Vegas. No, seriously, I was pretty psyched. Being from Philly and Atlantic City has become a big part of my later high school and college dropout years.
Sure.
But so this is a pretty cool gig for you when you get to come down here and play Atlantic City.
Oh yeah, I mean, like growing up in Philadelphia, and I don't know if I should say it, but you know, like a lot of kids, we try and sneak into casinos when we're 18. And I still clearly remember, like on a Friday night, being 18 years old and driving down and really like seeing AC for the first time as a teenager, and seeing like the lasers coming up, and the Taj Mahal was like the new casino back then, and that was where we would go. And then years later, coming down and playing here, and we've developed a tremendous relationship with the Borgata, and it's just been a great place to come play. And honestly, we've been doing this is the first time we did a winter show, but we've been doing a lot of summer shows down here the past couple of years, which has been a lot of fun. And the room here is very intimate, and it's a lot different than playing like a nightclub in Philly or something.
Well, it's a 1,000-seater that plays much smaller.
It does, and it's weird because it's sometimes a lot like an after-school special to me. It's like you come out and it's always a little quirky. The crowd's very like because it's like a home thing. I'll look out in the audience, see like some of my parents' friends and my parents' friends, like my friends' parents,
right,
and my parents' friends. It's just like.
Is that weird to you, or do you get a kick out of that?
It's totally weird. Like I'm like, hey, Mrs. Finney, how you doing out there? Hey.
When I wanna block, I can't go back to Jersey. Ain't going back. Can't go back to Jersey. Ain't going back. Can't go back to Jersey. Ain't going back. What you gotta do me like that? Cooling out, waiting for my lady. She got the special sauce. That's why she's my baby, my baby, my baby. Of course I do anything for her, anything she wanna show her, honey. Show you got the shot.
Gary, a lot of musicians, when they're starting out, are trying to find their sound, and invariably they do find it. But in a lot of cases, it sounds like somebody else. You had a completely different approach to it. You took two different types of music, blues and hip hop, and you fused them. And on the surface, they would seem to be types of music that are kind of at opposite ends of the musical spectrum, but you found a common denominator, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, and I found it out on 2nd and Lombard one night when I used to be a street musician in Philadelphia. I grew up right by South Street, and just kind of on a whim, one night we used to go out there and play, and then I noticed every night I'd make $20 and change. I said, hey, this is pretty cool. And as like a teenager, I was like, okay, man, this is a reality, like a small reality. I could actually follow the dream of trying to make it and become a musician, a professional musician, which was like a million light years away. Anyhow, I really started like delving into a lot of old records, and Bob Dylan, of course, was a big foundation, as were the Beatles. And then I really got turned on to the blues through this guy John Hammond, and just always musically searching, and and I would get so turned on by this music, and it was my whole life. Like I'd want to dress like the guy was dressed on the record cover and emulate the way that their vocals sound, and through that I got turned on to a lot of Delta blues, and so my vocal thing was, I was this young white teenager trying to sound like an old black bluesman from the Delta.
You're not the first person to have tried that.
You're trying to like make your vocals sound like Muddy Waters, and you're 17 years old, and it's like maybe it's not quite working, but it's giving you something. You know what I mean? And then so I kind of was delving into the blues, and hip hop was something that was just kind of there, part of my generation, and something that we listened to with my friends and stuff. So when I was just out on the street one night playing this blues riff, I started rapping over it at the end, and I was probably just sitting out there by myself with no one watching me, but for me that was like a real epiphany, and that I look back on that night as being, I kind of knew it then, like, okay, that's it, because I knew.
Had you done rap before that, or was it just something spontaneous? Really?
It was like I just singing along with records, but not saying not thinking that I could rap.
Right.
'Cause I actually remember like being in this basketball league in Philadelphia where I was one of the only. Me and my friend Jake and my manager Jay were the three only white kids in the whole league at Old Pine and on 4th and Lombard. And one of my friends came up to me and said, yo, check this out. And he put these headphones on, and it was the Beastie Boys. And he said, yo, those are white dudes. And I said, no, they're not white. And he said, yeah, they are. I was like, really? So, there wasn't a lot of, nowadays, hip hop's such a part of music that anybody, it's not so far-fetched for anybody to rap regardless of nationality or skin color or anything.
Right.
But then it was a little bit more of a, you know, it was like
it was an urban thing.
Yeah, it was an urban thing.
thing.
It was part of the culture of you know, of the inner city. And anyhow, so I knew it as a fan, and it was in me since I was a kid. So when it came out, it was somewhat a part of me. And then I found that I could really express myself lyrically, writing, you know, rhymes. I like to write with a lot of words anyhow, so now I can put even more words in it. And
well, up until that
it
point,
worked.
you had been concentrating more on writing music than lyrics?
No, I was always kind of a songwriter, because like just through like the Dylan and the Beatles thing, like I always had a strong sense of songwriting and like what makes a song, you know what I mean? And I started writing my first song when I was 15, and so it's something that I've always been doing a lot of, you know. And then making it into a hip hop thing was just like a new venture. And I mean, I knew it, man. Like it wasn't like a conscious thing that I was like formulated in my head. Oh, hip hop plus blues equals originality. It was just like when I stumbled upon it, I knew it. That's the hip hop blues, and I knew it at that point. I was like, no one can be doing this right now. There's no way that anybody else is doing it.
So we had a for a drink, and what do you think? She gave another guy a wink who came over for a kiss, and after girl who's dead. She said, that's G Love, you know G and special sauce. Then he says, I'm getting Louis, kid, you better get lost. I asked the girl who's Louis. She said, that's my man. Women, I just can't understand. And I said, I don't wanna hear about girl problem. If you got problem, baby doll, I can solve 'em, but I feel you're gonna get me in trouble. So come on, let's leave this bar and go out clubbing or the double girl, put me in a train. Oh, because you wanna dance and get down with the man who brought the sound. On a Friday night when I came to rock your town.
All right, so you've got this sound, and you know in your head it sounds really, really good. But you have to sell it to somebody before it can be heard by the masses. How difficult was that?
Well, you know, it was difficult. I mean, I had made this little cassette tape that I was selling out of my case, and by then I had moved up to Boston, and I was a street musician up there, and it took me about 4 months to run into my drummer, who was established as one of the good local drummers, and he was 10 years my senior, so he kind of took me under my wing, and through that we got a couple of gigs right away, and one gig led to another, and we got Jim in the band on the bass, and
Now,
so
were you Special Sauce at that point?
yeah, that was Special Sauce,
Right.
and that was the original trio, and then we did a couple. I remember we did this one Friday night opening gig at this Irish pub in Boston, and we were opening up for somebody. After the gig, I thought we might have just as well sold out Vet Stadium. I mean, that's how like good I felt, you know. But things rolled really quickly, and actually we had a record deal. From the first rehearsal to signing a record deal was 9 months.
Wow.
So it really, and that was a lot of hustle. You know, that didn't just happen lackadaisically. That was a lot of hustle.
Do you find that now that you've got a sound that works and is commercially successful, are there other people trying to
Is it
copy
commercially successful?
Well, it's done better than most.
I guess,
you
I don't know, yeah.
But do you find people are starting to copy that sound now?
I don't know. I mean, you know, I always think music is kind of like a handoff, you know. I mean, I certainly have spent my whole career like learning other people's records, and that's how you develop as a musician. You learn other people's songs. So, I mean, you know, I think now I'm coming around a spot where like I got 8 records out, and so there's definitely like probably a whole generation of, you know, I used to be the kid, and now there's probably a generation of younger musicians out there that kind of maybe have grown up in high school listening to some of our records, and that music's in them, so it's going to come out of them. So yeah, that is pretty cool. And of course, like the biggest person that we influenced is my friend Jack Johnson, who, you know, he admits it, we influenced him, and we helped him to come out, and of course now he's one of the biggest stars ever. So even him getting to the level where he's at right now, I think brought a lot of, not for us, but for the outside world, a lot of validity into, you know, our sound and our style, you know.
There was a story in the New York Times today that talked about the hit that hip-hop music has been taking, not artistically, but financially. I mean, sales were off last year. They're going to be off even more this year. Do you think what you do kind of makes it immune to the problems that are happening in the hip hop world?
Well, you know, for better or for worse, like we've never been like a big record selling band, and our things developed in a very kind of grassroots way, and through the catalyst has been the live show. So through that, now we're in a spot where like no one can take that away from us, because that's nothing to do with the business really. Like it's mostly to do with the music and the people. And sometimes me and my drummer look at each other like, God, can you believe that people are still coming out to see us and like
They're paying their hard-earned money to come see you.
And trust me, man, we really don't take it for granted. I mean, we know it's like, we know that people spend all, you know, that's a lot of money to come out to a show, and we definitely try to keep our ticket prices really low. It's one of our goals. And but just no matter how much someone's spending, that's their hard-earned money that they've worked all week to get here and be there on a Friday night and really cut loose, and we try to bring them, you know, inspiration through the music and a place where they can let all hang out. But the music business is in dire straits right now, and it's a new era, and I feel like you know, thanks to the people that kind of run our office and the people that come to the shows, we're in a great place to kind of face the kind of uncertainty as to where's this thing going. Like there's a good chance that, you know, and there's not going to be CDs in the next 5 years, and there's a good chance there's not going to be record labels, and so there's a huge vacuum going on, and you just hope that you know, be able to ride out the storm. So I think we're in good shape.
I'm sure you'll figure out a way. Garrett, I know you got a show to do. I want to thank you for spending some time with us. Continued success, and we'll see you running around the streets of Avalon pretty soon.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
No, but I could tell that something ain't right, cause she got me waiting, coming late, trying not to raise my voice, negotiating it. I'm confrontating, but she'll win the argument. I shouldn't have started it. I'm broken hearted, but you know I can't be parted. My baby needs a taste, so I count my loss. Ain't it right? Dick, my baby got sauce. Your baby ain't sweet like mine. She got sauce. Your baby ain't sweet like mine. Baby got sauce. Your baby ain't sweet like mine. She got sauce. 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 Ain't so sweet like mine. She got sauce. Ain't so sweet like my baby.